The restroom is on the right hand side. Okay. We are a small class. Okay. So take as much advantage as you can. But we have a set goal to cover a lot of things that we need to. So sometimes it is going to be cramming up. If you have already looked at your books and tabs and highlights and everything, probably you may be a little comfortable, but overall, to all of you, it is going to be overwhelming experience because so much of knowledge that you're going to gain, so much of information that you're going to get. Okay, so don't pull your hairs. Don't be frustrated. We are here to help. If you don't understand today, you can come back and attend our evening classes, or you can say, I don't understand this. Can you take 15 or 20 minutes time to explain me? We can have a live one-on-one meeting too, and we can explain that to you. The goal is to pass the exam. The goal is to pass the exam. If you want to score 100%, that's great. But keep the goal in target. 70% is the passing requirement, and that's what we want. Okay, 70 and above. If you read and tab and highlight all of these things, which is self-study, 80% of that is your self-study, you're going to get easy 60%. Anyone who takes the test with the books that they have, they easily can get more than 50% because it's an open book test, right? Anyone who has the intention to take the task is prepared for that. So what is the missing point, right? The missing point is either that 25%, between 50 to 75, because we want to target 75. The reason is there are 5 pilot questions. So there are total 125 questions. The only 120 are considered for your marks, points. Okay, all of them have equal weightage. So what you should do is always answer easy questions first. Take a deep breath. Okay, slow down. So let's get started on this. All right, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 9 to 5. Lunch break is 12:30 to 1:30. Okay, webinars 5:30 to 7. All of you, many of you already attended these. So preparing for the exam, okay, everyone's learning style is different. And you need to identify what is your learning style, okay? Because once you understand that, that will help you in your own ways of how you are following the class and what your process is. Learning is to change your point of view. Learning is to change. Jonathan, can you get that gentleman here? I think he's looking for a class. Good morning. Can you please sign in over there? The sign-in thing over there? Yes. We put the sign right next to the class. I think we'll put the door sign too. Okay. So learning is to change your point of view. Okay. However, successful students exhibit 3 traits: break down the materials, spend time studying materials on a consistent basis, learn to navigate the books quickly and efficiently. Right? In an open book test, the only way to pass the exam is to know your books. Right? Understand the books, know the books, try to follow where the question can come from, and you're not going to get it. It's a practice that you're going to take. So that's the one. Spend time studying materials on a consistent basis. When I say consistent, stick to it. If you take the test and if you fail the exam, don't be disheartened. Okay, failure is not the end. You learn something when you fail the task. If you take the actual task and if you fail, you're going to learn something and come back. If you score more than 65 in your actual task, please review your test, because 80% or 90% of the time when you review the questions, you'll realize that either you rushed the answer too fast, or you have, again, pardon my language, nothing to berate any, you'll feel that how could I be so stupid that I selected this as an answer when it was obvious that it was there in front of your eyes.
So okay? That's how you got wrong.
If you do the review,
okay,
you have to do the review. So if you get 65, okay, don't wait for anything. Okay, 2 things that you should do. Whether you pass or not, fail, either way, what we request is call us, take a voice memo, dump everything that you can, because that helps us, right? in all these 20 years, everything that you see is based upon the feedback that we see. What I like is I like the one that we never taught to you, right? If you say, come back and say, Sanjeev, this was a question that we never heard from you. Okay. Can you tell us where to find? Because it's your knowledge increase too. And it helps me too to help others. Okay. So do that. And number two is if you get 65, anything above 60, and if you can afford to spend $100, okay, review the test because you will find out the answers for the unknowns that you answered wrong. And that is worth every dollar that you pay. Okay. They will say that you cannot take the test for another 21 days, but anyway, you cannot schedule the test for another 21 days. Okay. So spend time studying material on consistent basis. The consistency is that set a time aside every day, make a point that you're going to read something. And all of you are busy. All of you are in business. All of you have house, home, job, everything to balance. Okay. But make a point to yourself that you're going to consistently study. One of the things that you're going to get if you're paid for the full fees is the team's access to small quizzes. Like the last Tuesday, if you attended last Tuesday, you saw the quiz, those are available to you on your phone. So while you're waiting for someone, or if you're just playing with your daughter or son or whoever they are, or at a baseball camp, you can still open that and try to answer the questions without the books. Test your knowledge. The test is not about IQ. The test is to find the things in the book, but it is the verbiage as we did over the. I don't know if you were there. Both of you were there for this Monday and Tuesday, but we did the quizzes that were there on the team. So you'll get that too. So do that. I'll explain this breakdown the material. Breakdown the material is that we all have different rates, as I said. Some of you probably want to go book based. You like to take a book and finish the book. Okay. Builder's Guide to Accounting, you take that book, you want to finish the whole book, study the book. Okay. But someone like me, I may get bored reading the same accounting terms. I'm not an accountant. I'm coming from construction. I open the book, I understand some terminologies, and I don't understand some other terminologies. Okay. Then what do? Okay. So breaking down the material is that either you do whichever one works for you. Not one way is the right way or wrong way. If it works for you to go through the books, one book at a time, do it. Or you can go content based, right? You can go with one content and say, okay, I'm going to study accounting, or I'm going to study depreciation, or I'm going to study this. And you focus on that, look into multiple books, okay, and highlight all of those things and study and see if there is a depreciation in Builder's Guide to Accounting. Is depreciation explained to you in your contractor's manual? Okay, so do that. So either way, these are the successful traits that those people who have passed the exam with their first attempt, that's what they do. Knowing the books, right? So the first thing is, let's look at your books. Contractor's manual. If you can open open your contractor's manual, take a look at table of contents. You have 10 chapters, right? If you flip, and Sean, I think you have not tapped the book, so I'm going to focus on you to tell you what to do, right? So if you flip the pages, you will see the page numbers at the bottom, and you'll see the uniqueness of that. There is a suffix in the front that tells you which chapter it is. So if you flip, if you go to the middle of the thing, it'll tell you 5-63, 3-73. The bottom of the page numbers at the bottom. That means that that is the chapter that you are in. That is the chapter that you are in. If you look at the table of contents, you have 10 chapters, right? They don't give you the page number. That's why you have tabs. That's why you have tabs. Now, some people say, how do I tab my books? Okay. You have multiple ways to tab your books. You have 3 sides on the book. If you don't want to tab 3 sides, you want the bottom of this book so that you can slide, right? You can move your fingers and move it fast. Okay. You can tab on the top. Glaciania has tabbed the top too. You'll see that on the top side. You can say, I want the chapters on the top, everything else on the right. You can say, I want chapters and law sections on the top, whatever works for you. If you already tabbed your books, don't stress out. Okay. But those who have not tabbed your books, you can tab the way you want. It is individual choice. Okay, so don't take the tabs and start sticking it on those page numbers. There is between the tabs, there is highlighting guidelines given to you too. Okay, so now if you look at your book, now as you see, there are 10 chapters, but none of them gives you the page numbers, right? It just says chapter 1, chapter 2. Now let's go to chapter 5, for example. Go to chapter 5. If you can go to chapter 5, find chapter 5, the first page of chapter 5. It's a bold chapter 5, and then it gives you table of contents. If you flip the page, it gives you the biography of the person who wrote that. Okay. And then if you flip the page, it gives you table of contents. So if you look at the table of contents, you will see that it gives you a lot of law sections. Actually, chapter 5 is full of federal and state laws that you must abide as an employee. So it's basically employee regulations, chapter 5. And the name of chapter 5 is also employee regulations, right? Okay, so the name itself tells you, and if you go and put your finger on every one, there is a chapter, there's a page number given to you that will take you to that page. Okay, so now you, as you see that there are so many law sections, employee regulations that are there in part of your book. Okay, so now let's take a look at index. Can you go to the index? End of the book is index. If you go to index, I'm sure that you have seen index in any of your books, study when you studied in the younger ages, right? What do you see difference in that index and normal indexes that you have seen? Most of the indexes will follow a chronology, right? A to Z, right? Most of the indexes will follow a chronology of A to Z. Okay. This also does the same, but it is little unique. So for example, go to forms, Forms, F. Go to F and go to forms. Okay. Now within forms, there is a list of 10 or 20 forms that are there, which don't start with F, So the way the index is written is the index is written based upon the needs, not necessarily the descending or ascending order. Okay. And if you master how to read that book through index, you have aced the task. You will ace the task because Contractor's Manual is your Bible for all the 3 exams. Okay. So every time when you read the book and tab and highlight, okay, what should be your thought in your mind? If there is a test question related to this, what I'm looking for, what I'm trying to find, can I find it easily looking at the index and table of contents? So anything that you highlight, you should highlight index or table of contents. 80% of the time, based on the words that you hear in the question, you will be able to find out either from the index or from table of contents. Not all of them, okay? But 80% of the time you'll be able to find. I've seen successful people coming back and say they did not even tap the books. They just mastered index. They highlighted index and they highlighted the table of contents. They were good. They did not need the tabs. Okay. So, and again, use multicolor highlights. Differentiate yourself however you want. Anything that is in the index that refers to law sections, highlight with one color. Anything that refers to employee regulations, you can highlight with another color. Anything that is with accounting, highlight with another color. Come up with your own color scheme that you want. Okay. But look at that. Now, let's go to chapter 3 for a quick second. If you go to chapter 3 has 2 sections. If you go to table of contents of chapter 3 has two sections. Okay. If you see, it has 2 sections, right? 2 sections, 2 table of contents, right? It also has a glossary. Okay. Now, if you go to circular E, if you are in table of contents, find out the page for circular E. Find out the page for circular E. And I think there are two types of books that we have. One is 2021, the other one is 2023, not a major difference. If you look at circular E, did you find the page number? 3-153. That's for your book. I think the new book will be different. 3-135. Thank you. 3-135. 3-135 is circular E. Now, if you look at circular E and just flip one or two pages, you will see that there are page numbers not only as per contractor's manual, but circular E itself. Circular E itself has its own page numbers as you flip the pages of that. Go to the end of circular E, you will see the index of circular E. If you go to the end of circular E, you will see the index. You're following me, right? Okay. So if you take circular E, go to the end of circular E, you will see index for circular E. Okay. So find out the means and methods that you can find the stuff easily within the circular E, within the contractor's manual, right? By identifying what you have in these books. Okay. Now there are so many law sections that are there. Can you tell me how many statutes are there included in this book? Can you tell me how many statutes, Florida statutes, state statutes are there in this book? I like Sean has already started looking at the index. I like that. So today, next 3 days, one of the things that you should do in the class, whenever I ask a question, your first gut feeling should be to go to index or table of contents of those chapters. Okay. I may give you the page number or someone else will give you the page number, but you must go into the index and table of contents. Please practice that in next 3 days. Okay. So if you go to index, all of you should go to index and tell me if you can find out how many Florida statutes are there. Now, if you say, go to the index, the beginning of the index, the start of the index, the start of the index gives you all the statutes and board rules. So the index does not start with A. It starts with Florida laws, right? So all of you must highlight in the index Florida Statute 489 so that whenever I say or we are studying, we say go to Florida Statute 489. I don't want you to wait for someone else to give you the page number. You should go to index, find the page number, go to that page. Okay. The next one is 450, Florida Statute 450, right? That's also part of your task. Florida Statute 713, that's your lien law. Florida Statute 440, that is your workman's comp. And on the top, there are board rules. The one important board rule that is for you is 61G4. So when we say we are going to the board rules, please don't look at me for the page number. I expect that you go to the index and find the page number and go to that page. Are we good? Are we clear? And I'm telling you, index, master the index, guys. As you tab and highlight, read the index. Anything that you highlight inside, you have tabbing and highlighting guidelines. Please follow those. No matter where you bought the books from, you should read that, tab the highlight. So the goal should be, even throughout the class, is how will you find this in the actual task? When you go to the take, when you go to take the task, if there's a question, how will you find it? That should be a goal. So Contractor's Manual is going to be a Bible. There are 10 chapters in that. Nice index. It's different. Okay. You may disagree that it's not nice. It should be the same way, but it is different and it is easy if you do that. The next book that we are going to review is Builder's Guide to Accounting. The next book that we are going to review is Builder's Guide to Accounting. So if you take Builder's Guide to Accounting, go to Table of Contents. Right? So if you look at Table of Contents, probably you have what, 26, 28 chapters? How many chapters do you have? 28. There are sections. All of these are divided into 3 sections. Right? Section 1 is receivables, sales and receivables. First section is sales and receivables, and there are 8 chapters. So if there's a question on sales, receivables, where would you go? In the first 8 chapters. Right? The next section is cost and expenses. Thank you. So that is all about expense. What are your expenses? What are the costs? And being a contractor, you know what are job costs, right? You always find out what is the job cost. For a contract, let's say if you're going to do a contract, you find out what is the cost to you to do that, and then you bid the job, right? So that's the cost. Okay. So it tells you how to do the cost. Right? Section 3 is financial statements. Section 3 is financial statements. Right? Now, if you go below at the end of all the chapters, you will see appendixes. Right? There are 4 appendixes, A, B, C, D. All of them are important. All of them are important. See, every one of them has a title. All of them are important. And as you tab and highlight, you're going to highlight them, you're going to tab them. Okay. Let's go to page 249. If you go to page 249, we call that as a panic page. That's for financial statements. Because we are contractors, we are more technical people. So we don't know accounting terms. Maybe Sean knows more because he studied business. Anyone who studied accounting probably knows more than anyone in this class. Right? So that gives you a mini balance sheet. Right? It gives you the relation between 3 financial statements. And we'll review those and we'll study those. Okay. Then, so you're going to do the same thing as you did in your contractor's manual. Whenever you tab and highlight, you must. The table of content is not as good as your contractor's manual. But still, anything that you highlight in table of contents, highlight in index, which will make it easy for you to find it during the task. It's an open book task. So you pick a word from a question and try to find that in your index or table of contents, makes it faster for you to find. 80% of the time, you probably narrowed out whether it is in which chapters, which section it is. And that's how you're going to follow that. Okay. In the index, same thing like forms. If you go to forms in this one too, Builder's Guide to Accounting, index, go to forms. You'll see there are multiple forms and those have been task questions too. You are going to get at least 2 or 3 task questions asking about forms. Which form is used for what purpose? And you will answer those. So that might be easy for you to find. For the forms, right? And in the forms, there are multiple ones, right? So, okay. The last set of documents that you have for your business and finance is your AIA documents. Technically, there are 3 AIA documents. There are 3 AIA documents, AIA 201, 401, and 701. Now, when you look at AIA 201, 201 is a general conditions. It is the general conditions of the contract. Okay. Can I borrow your 201? But it is not. People got it. Good. All right. So if you look at this, okay, the first page on the title, it says instruction. So that is actually the instruction page. Okay, it tells you about the history of it. When you flip the page, That is page number 2, gives you all other different EIA documents that are there. But if you flip one more page, then it starts with content. And again, you'll see the title AI 201. So technically, you can separate this. This is the instruction page document, and this is your actual document. Okay. I know that our booksellers, where we go buy the books from, they put it into the binder, they staple it, which I don't like it, but I have to live with that. But if you can, or at least that this is instruction. This is your actual document. There will be just questions from this too, but that is only the first 2 pages. The last 2 pages are in sequence. So if you go into your document, which is stapled and everything, if you go to the last page, it will give you page number 7, which is not possible, right? It cannot be 7 in your book that you have, which is stapled. The last page, go to the last page of 201. Because that's how the book is. Okay. Now, if you go to this page, table of content. You can put it back to the. Okay. Now, this also has an index. This also has an index. Right? Now, when you look carefully through the index, they have given you the key words, key important words of your contract. Okay. Now, let's take an example. I'm just going to pick up one, like cleanup. Under cleanup, there is one clause that is bolded, that's bold. That means that is the main clause for cleanup. And the other clause numbers that have been mentioned are secondary clause numbers where there is a reference to the cleanup. Where there is a reference to the cleanup. You got it? Okay. So you can go to any of those and you will see like hazardous material. Go to materials, hazardous. Okay. So 10.3 is bold. That means 10.3 is the main, and the rest of them are secondary clauses where you may find information of that. Okay. You are going to have tons of questions from these AIA documents. Okay. The next is AIA 401, which has a similar way, instruction page, and then the main document, but it does not have table of contents, right? Or it does not have index because it is an actual contract between a contractor and a subcontractor. Then 701 is instruction to bidders. Same thing, you have instruction page, first page is instruction, the main document starts from the second page. Does not mean that you will not be tested from the instruction page. Okay, like on the instruction page, it tells you how to submit the bid. How many envelopes would you use to submit the bid? You actually use 2 envelopes. In real bidding, there are 2 documents that you submit. Your price bid is always in an opaque envelope. On large contracts, when the bids are open, they don't open the price bid. They open first the qualification bid. All of the documents that you have signed to make sure that you have checkbox. You meet all the requirements of what the contract requirements are. Once you meet that, then they will open the price bid. Okay, so take a look at that. AI, you will be tested on AI. You will expect 10 to 15 questions minimum from AI. We also have a special AI quiz that is there that you should practice. Most of your questions will be lookup questions or calculation of days, because it tells you how many days notice you have to give to terminate your subcontract, or how many days owner can give you notice, how many days notice you can give to the owner if you have not been paid. Okay, so it's a great contract. Most of you probably will never use those contracts. Okay, only those who are into large contracts will probably use those. Okay. Highlight a sentence, but double highlight, underline a single number or word. Sometimes you'll see the word half the cost. Half the cost is 50%, right? So highlight those. If something is written in words, 50% of the cost is half the cost, vice versa, right? So when you are looking at those, you are trying to identify the words and numbers because in the test, they may use 50. So your psychologically, your eyes are looking for 50 or percentage sign or the word percentage, but you're not looking for half the cost. So if you highlight the whole paragraph, pick a word within that that you want to emphasize. You can underline, use multicolor highlights, and that will help. Highlight the reference book is allowed, underlining is allowed, also allowed. Any colors and multiple colors or underlining to emphasize. Extra tabs are allowed. Find keywords to that highlight or a topic. Check if that word is in index or table of content or glossary. Think of how your highlight will guide you to the correct answer while you scan the pages of your book or relate to answering a test question. Right? Everything that I said is that don't highlight for no reason or tend to over highlight. Just because your neighbor has tabbed more tabs does not mean that you also need those tabs. Okay, so don't get into that psychological thing that Glaciana has had. Oh, she has colorful tabs. I should get them too. No, don't need that. Okay, it's her way of studying. It's her way of knowing the book or digesting the book, right? To know the book. So don't do that. Do whatever is good for you. Sometimes it is only necessary to highlight a single phrase or number. Okay. The idea of highlighting is to find the information faster by passing the eyes in the page, sentence, highlight smart. Okay. And again, every one of you have different learning skills. Every one of you has different learning skills. Some of you are kinesthetic. Some of you are visual. Some of you are auditory. Not everyone is 100% auditory or someone visual, right? So if you're kinesthetic, you want to feel, you want to touch, you can do. And you'll see many of in our society, we see many people. Some people are very good carpenters or skillsmen. But if you ask them to take the task, they fail the task because they don't have the test taking skills. And there are some people who have great test taking skills. They pass the task, but they don't know anything, but they know how to take. Okay, so please know which one works for you. So if you are auditory, attend more classes. Listen because you'll keep listening, and that's what we are recording too, so that you can listen to those and you can do visual. Visual is you see everything you want to see. Okay, so come to the classes. If you are a visual learner, okay, in-person classes are the best classes for you. You will not learn online. Okay, so it's a group, right? You like to see things in it. Same thing with kinesthetic. Kinesthetic people, online classes are not good for kinesthetic people. They would like to see what he's writing, and he will write. When I say he, that's not you necessarily, a kinesthetic person, So it's very important that you know who you are and how you thought. So if you remember, I said that successful candidates have traits and breakdown of the material. This is what I meant when I said content areas. Okay, this is a public document. This tells you how many test questions are going to come from which content area of the material. Okay, so if you want to download this, you can download this. It's available to you. You can print it and keep it in front of you. They have given even subdivisions of this. Under this, what are the type of things they want you to know? If you can take that while you are highlighting and everything, you're good. You know that you're ready for with 11% of the questions. Right? You will know that you are ready with 11% of the questions. Now, if you look at this we'll do one or two, but this should be your part of your exercise when you go back home. Once you have tabbed and highlighted, I think that, can you, Jonathan, I'm just going to ask you, that another gentleman with the bag is going back and forth. He went right. Right.
Okay.
Yes, the one with the black bag. Okay, then you're good. Yeah, if he comes out. Well, he will ask people and then probably he will fall in that. All right. So when you look at this, you should be able to identify which books, which section of the books, and where you can find that information. Okay, and that's the exercise that you should do. That is. Yes, sir. Welcome. Yes, I sent Jonathan running behind you.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. Uh, if you want to sign in over there, there's a sign-in sheet there. Okay. So the goal should be for you to find out, identify where you can find, right? So if you look here, the first three are chapter 1 and 2 of your contractor's manual. Okay. Determining the business organization, develop the business, and establish other relations. All of this. Technically, it is mainly chapter 1. Most of the information related to this is in chapter 1. Acquiring fixed asset. Right? Acquiring fixed asset. So read the title, establishing the contracting business. Under that, acquiring fixed asset. What does that mean? That means you should have a common knowledge. This acquiring the asset, fixed asset, is not about your tools. It is about your office. Are you going to buy, purchase the office? Then you should have knowledge of depreciation. Do you have that much equity in your business to buy a property? Will it allow you to sustain? So all of those will be part of this. And then obtaining insurance is the state mandated law that is in chapter 2. And you should know what is the risk management, that is chapter 4. Right? So now if you know this, it makes a lot easier for you to focus in the areas. Because when you come in the class, sometimes we poke you, right? And you get intrigued. And that's the job. That's the process of learning and giving. Okay. But if you know this, then you will be able to identify and narrow down before you take the task. If someone asks me that today is the last day, tomorrow I'm taking the task, what am I supposed to do? I will say, print this and check the box. Do you know every one of those? If you can check the box and you know that every one of those, you know where to find it, what page, at least a broad idea of where that material is, you'll do good. Okay. And as I said, that in the real, in the whole details, even like one will have like 4 or 5 items. So this is like multiple page document. Okay. So download those. So for example, 26% of the questions, where will this come from? Okay. So if you look at this is overlap of what we done before, right? Develop the business. The previous one had develop the business plan, developing the business and having a business plan. So developing the business is the second phase of once you have developed the business plan, then you go to developing the business, right? Determine outsourced services. What are the services that you're going to outsource? Typically, what are the services when you begin that you're going to outsource? One of the test question is you must have maintained relationship with professionals, right? I think it was in the previous one. Establish relationship with other professionals. Which of them should be? And they will ask, that has been a test question too. Daniel will say architects. Okay, Sean may say planners and engineers because that's what he deals with. But that's not what this book tells you. You should look as a business. You must have relationship with your insurance agent. That's risk management of the business, bankers, attorneys, and accountant. Okay, so it's not technical. It's more on the business side of it. Okay, you all are technical. You already are successful in the technical world that you are in. The goal is to see how good you do as a business owner. So again, coming back. Okay, so this will be again chapter 1 and contractors manual, chapter 10 and general knowledge. Okay, determine business overhead, preparing bids and proposals. This is overheads. We'll talk about it, but it is going to be chapter 3 of your contractors manual, which talks about overheads, and builder's guide to accounting. Okay, preparing bids and proposals. That is your AI 701. Instructor to bidders, right? Next is purchase material supplies, inventory management. Contractors manual, chapter 3. Keep in mind, chapter 3 is the main chapter of your contractors manual for business and finance. Okay, chapter 3 is the main chapter for your business and finance. Prepare invoices and draw requests. Again, contractors manual, chapter 3, builders guide to accounting and general knowledge. You should know how you should prepare your invoices. Develop a safety program. Now, those who have already tapped your books and everything, you'll tell me, and Abdul, can you tell me where can you find develop a safety program? Jonathan? Chapter 7 of your contractor's manual. There are 10 chapters. And chapter 7 of your contractor's manual is safety. That's the title. That's where you're going to find the answer. Okay. Chapter 7 of your contractor's manual. Whenever we say CM, that means contractor's manual. Whenever we say BGA, that is builder's guide to accounting. Whenever we say EIA, that is your EIA documents 201, 401, or 701. Maintain insurance. Again, that goes to the board rules that mandates the minimum requirement. And chapter 4, that is your risk management. Managing contracts. Contractor's manual. Now also think about this. There are 9 sections, 26%. That means that each section could have 3% questions. 3% of 125 is how much? 3 to 4 questions on every one of these. Right? So it allows you to focus your energy and resources of where and how you want to prepare. You're going to go through this on all of your things. 10% is managing trade operations, scheduled trade operations, maintain OSHA safety records. That is again your chapter 7. Okay, so if you try to break it down in your mind, it is not accurate. They say that there could be a variation of 3% plus questions from here and there. So that could be a variation, but still it gives you a sense of importance, that which chapters are important, which sections are important, which material in the book is important. This is your main 32%. Managing accounts receivable. Which sections of your builder's guide to accounting? Section 1 of your builder's guide to accounting. Right? Manage accounts payable. Which part? Section 2 of your accounts, builder's guide to accounting. Right? Manage cash flow. Again, section 2, because that's where you are looking at how the costs are, right? And again, all of this are part of your chapter 3 of your contractor's manual. All of these. All of these are part of your chapter 3 and builder's guide to accounting. 32% is a big number of 125 questions. 40 questions. And this is where majority of your math will come from. I would like to call it as arithmetic because the test questions will be arithmetic, not mathematics. You should know the difference. Arithmetic is simple addition, subtraction, multiplication. Okay. So there is no mathematics, but it is all arithmetic. 6% managing human resources, 15% complying with government regulations, federal laws and regulations, state laws and regulations. Chapter 5 and chapter 2. You already know all the laws and rules that are there in the index that we looked into, right? So that's your preparing for the exam, okay? Along with this, test taking skills, math errors. There are three types of math errors that we see. Okay. One, careless errors. Careless error occurs simply because they are not paying attention or are working too fast. And this will happen. You are under the stress. Instead of pressing plus sign, you press a minus sign. Instead of pressing a decimal point, you may press a multiplication. Okay. Instead of pressing a zero, you press a decimal point. Okay. It all happens. Okay. It has happened to me. It happens to me now too. But in real life, you have chance to correct it. In the test, you don't have a chance to correct it because once you answer it, you're done. You have to go. Okay. When I say, I'll back up a little bit. You still have a chance in the task to go back and correct your answers before you submit. But once you submit, there's nothing that you can do. So again, whenever there's a math question, that should be the last one that you should try to do, and slow down. Even in the class, during the class, there is no race. Okay, understand, and I'll come there in a minute. The second one is computational errors. This means somewhere in the process, they incorrectly added, subtracted, multiplied, or divided. Making one computational mistake in a multi-step problem means the rest of their work will be wrong and the final solution is wrong. Like understanding the simple PEMDAS, right? Parenthesis, you go from parenthesis inside out. I like to say you go from inside out. Okay, then your math will be right. And that's where the computational error happens, because sometimes you make a mistake because you're trying to use the calculator, not write down the equation. To avoid this, the best thing is write down the equation in the test and fill in the numbers. Then start using the calculator. It may slow you down, but you will have more rightful answer. Okay, so to avoid computational error, you should write down the equation, whatever equation it is, simple or complex. Conceptual errors. Conceptual error occurs because you have misunderstood the underlying concept or having used incorrect logic. These first two are you. This is where we come in picture. If you don't understand the concept, you're not going to get it. So in the class, your goal should be to understand the concept. Don't worry about the numbers. You'll get it right the next time when you practice. Right? But you should understand the concept. What is depreciation? What is break-even point? If you understand the concept, you'll do it right. Because then it is one of the other two that you're making the mistake. Okay, and you have to always select the closest answer. You have to always select a closest answer. How many of you are in the WhatsApp group? You saw a WhatsApp message yesterday, right? About the toilets? Okay.
Popped up.
It popped up, right? So if you really think about it, for me, means again, I don't, it's like genuine question. How can 3.125 become 4 toilets? Because you cannot provide 3.125 toilets. That's the concept. Can you provide 3.5 toilets? There is no, right? If the requirement is 3.5, how much will you provide? It's always more than what is required. So you'll provide 4 toilets. Okay. So the question that the gentleman asked, he was missing the concept of it. He was going pure mechanical, mathematical, saying if it is 3.125, if you go mathematical to settle, it should go downwards, right? 3.125, if you want to reduce the decimals, it will become 3.13. If you still want to go down, it will become 3, not 4. So he was right. But the concept was wrong. The concept was not for mathematical. The concept of providing physical toilet, right? So you cannot provide. So understand that. So that's a good example that how you can make conceptual errors, because that would be an answer 3.125. I'm going to change that simulator question and put 3.125 because I never thought that someone would think that they will put 3.125. Okay. PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Okay. So please make sure that you follow this. So saying that, let's test your skills. Okay. And you're going to just do it in your head. Don't use the calculators. And I think probably Glaciana may know the answer. Jonathan probably knows the answer, and Edgar knows the answer of this, right? What weighs the most, a ton of feather or a ton of rock? They both weigh the same, right? They both weigh the same. Okay, the volume is different, but they weigh the same. What's the answer to this? Do it in your head. Okay. What's the answer? 1. Okay. 4. 4. Okay. 8. 16. Good. See how many different answers? The answer is 1. You go from this parenthesis. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. Okay. And those who came with different answers, you started probably from left to right. Right? 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Okay. Or however you did it, but you could get a different answer. Okay. So you have to just follow the simple concept. Go from inside out, not from left to right. Okay. So math equations are not done left to right. They're written left to right, but they're not solved left to right. The last one. This, just do it in your heads. Daniel, what's the answer? 5,000. John, 4,100. 41. It is 41. Then what the mind does is it goes from thousands to hundreds. This is tens. Okay. So when you add thousands and when you add tens separately and then add it, you'll get the right answer. But if you try to add simultaneously, your mind picks from 1,000 to hundreds. It does not go from 1,000 to tens. So the answer is 4,100. So what you should do is separate them out. Again, the test is not about your IQ. Use the calculator. You got it? Okay. All right. So use the calculator. The test is not about your IQ. Okay. And again, slow down. Slowing down will help. Can do check the answers. Sometimes the answers can give you clues. Apply the correct formula. Find and write the right formula neatly. Now find the data. Double check each step again. Organize the answer. Formula plus data plus math is equal to answer. When you're taking practice quiz exams and everything, always try to answer the easy questions first. Okay, slow down, take your time, take notes, make notes, okay, and practice. When in doubt, when time is running out, guess. That is in the actual task. When your time is running out, okay, what will you do? You will pick one alphabet. Don't make it a Christmas tree. The chances of you getting all the answers 25% right is good. If you pick A, stick to A. Let's say 20 questions. You don't know what those answers are. Okay. In your real task, they will allow you to review. So you can check the box for review. But mind well that before you submit, uncheck that box. For whatever you want to select, select it and make it affirmative. If you're still marked it for review, those may not be counted towards your right answer. Just because you have checked the box. Okay, you have to uncheck the box for review before you submit the questions. Okay. Slow down again, simply slowing down and working more carefully on a problem will cut down on the computational errors. Use a calculator and check the answer after solving. Understanding of the concepts, conceptual way. Mathematics can be done multiple ways. Just like how I was explaining thousands and tens, add thousands on one column, add tens on one column. If you're doing foot and inches, do the same thing, unless you are using the construction calculator. One of the most common excuses is that of not having the time. I'm telling you that you have to find time. You have to find time to prepare for the task, to study. Okay, make it a note, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Okay, go to public libraries. Public libraries have private rooms. They give you private rooms for a couple of hours that you can take. Okay, get out, get away from the hustle bustle of your honeydew things at the house and your boss, all of those. Okay, weekends, take a couple of hours a weekend and go out and study. Okay, because it will require you to do that. This does not have to be an overwhelming amount of time, budget 1.5 to 2 hours a day. Okay, and it will benefit you. It's for your benefit. By being diligent and consistent, you can expect. The reason I'm saying consistent is that the goal is not to forget what you have studied. Because if you give a gap, okay, then you may lose. Another thing is for those who are going to take the task for contract administration and project management too, okay, 40 to 50% of your business and finance is your contract administration. Some people say that I'm going to prepare, Abdul, saying that I'll prepare for business and finance. But while you're preparing for business and finance, you're technically preparing for contract administration too. So make it a slow process so that within 4 weeks or 3 weeks, you get ready to take the contract administration task too. But don't avoid, don't ignore, because by the time you finish business and finance, and if you separate those studies, okay, when you're ready to take contract administration, you may lose some of the things that you learn in your business and finance. So typically, my suggestion is that within 2 or 4 weeks, you should, if you pass business and finance, or even if you take the business and finance task, within 2 to 4 weeks, take contract administration. We have a gentleman in the class who did that, and he passed contract administration, and he's going to take business and finance now. He failed business and finance once, but he'll go back and take now. Okay? So do that. You'll probably surprise yourself. Okay. Successful thinking is a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Any questions? Right? Go ahead and use the restroom and everything. We'll dive deeper into the next session. Take a small break. Later on, the breaks will get minimized.